If you are trying to improve your English speaking skills, you probably already know that practice is the key. You have to speak English as much as possible to become fluent. Simply studying grammar rules or memorizing vocabulary lists will not magically make you a fluent speaker. Likewise, just listening to English conversations, podcasts, or movies will not be enough to develop your ability to speak confidently. While these activities are valuable for improving comprehension, they do not actively engage you in speaking, which is the most crucial aspect of fluency. But what if you don't have anyone to practice with? What if you don't have an English-speaking friend, tutor, or community around you? How can you still develop your speaking skills? The good news is that there is a technique that allows you to practice speaking English all by yourself. No speaking partner required. This method can help enhance many aspects of your spoken English, including grammar, sentence structure, vocabulary, and, most importantly, your ability to articulate thoughts and ideas clearly. This technique is called learning to speak English through imitation. What is the imitation technique? When we talk about imitation, we don't mean merely repeating what native speakers say word for word to practice pronunciation. Imitation goes beyond simple repetition. It involves actively processing spoken English, understanding the structure of sentences, and then expressing the same ideas in your own words. Imitation allows you to internalize the patterns of spoken English, making it easier for you to think and speak fluently. By mimicking real-life speech, you develop a natural sense of grammar and sentence flow, rather than learning through rigid grammatical rules. This approach is very similar to how children acquire their first language. They listen, absorb patterns, and then attempt to express themselves. Let's take a closer look at how this technique works and how you can implement it into your daily routine. Step-by-step guide to practicing the imitation technique. There are different ways to use imitation to improve your English speaking skills. Below, we outline a structured approach that progresses from easy to more challenging exercises. This method, which we call easy to hard imitation, ensures that you develop your skills gradually and effectively. Step 1. Start with small portions, phrase-by-phrase imitation. Begin by listening to small portions of speech, such as individual phrases or short sentences. After hearing a phrase, pause the audio and repeat what was said in your own words. You can also try saying the phrase exactly as you heard it to practice pronunciation and rhythm. For example, speaker. When I was a child, my parents liked to pretend that Santa Claus would bring us presents at Christmas. Your imitation. When he was a child, his parents liked to pretend that Santa Claus would bring them presents at Christmas. At this stage, your focus should be on correctly forming sentences and pronouncing words clearly. Step 2. Expand to larger portions of speech. Once you are comfortable imitating short phrases, move on to larger portions of speech, such as full sentences or groups of sentences. This will help you develop fluency and confidence. For example, instead of imitating single phrases, you can try imitating an entire thought. Speaker. So when my siblings and I woke up on Christmas morning, there'd be a bunch of presents, supposedly from Santa Claus, sitting in front of the fireplace. Your imitation. So when he and his siblings woke up on Christmas morning, there were a lot of presents in front of the fireplace, supposedly from Santa Claus. This method forces you to remember longer sections and process the language more deeply, which enhances retention and speaking ability. Step 3. Summarize the speech in your own words. In this stage, you listen to a full passage or conversation and then attempt to summarize it in your own words. Instead of repeating the exact phrases, you reconstruct the speech using different vocabulary and sentence structures. This step requires a higher level of thinking and helps improve your ability to express ideas freely. For example, if the original speaker says, "Learning English through imitation is one of the most effective methods because it allows learners to internalize sentence structures and develop fluency naturally, just like native speakers do." Your version might be, "Imitating spoken English is a powerful way to improve fluency, since it helps learners absorb language patterns in a natural way, similar to how native speakers learn their first language." By summarizing in your own words, you strengthen your ability to think in English and improve overall fluency. Step 4. Deliver the entire speech yourself. The final step is the most challenging. After listening to an entire speech, you should try to deliver it on your own without referring to the original version. The goal here is to convey the main ideas and details using your own words, which enhances your ability to speak naturally and confidently. To do this, listen carefully to a speech, take notes if necessary, and then attempt to present the speech as if you were explaining it to someone else. For example, if you listen to a short TED Talk or a segment of a podcast, try summarizing it aloud as if you were teaching the topic to a friend. This forces you to actively recall information, structure your sentences correctly, and speak fluidly. Why the imitation technique works. There are several reasons why this technique is one of the most effective ways to improve your spoken English. 1. You learn proper sentence structures naturally. By imitating correct English sentences, you automatically absorb grammar and sentence patterns without needing to study complex rules. 2. You develop a natural rhythm and pronunciation. By speaking aloud, you improve your pronunciation, intonation, and fluency, making your speech sound more natural. 3. You expand your vocabulary effortlessly. When you hear and use new words in context, you remember them better than by memorizing vocabulary lists. 4. You improve your ability to express thoughts clearly. Since you are actively forming sentences on your own, you learn how to articulate your ideas with confidence. 5. You practice without the fear of making mistakes. When practicing alone, you can experiment with language freely without worrying about embarrassment or judgment. Final thoughts. Improving your English speaking skills does not require a speaking partner. You can train yourself effectively using the imitation technique. By listening, absorbing, and reproducing spoken English in your own words, you will develop fluency naturally. The key is to start small and gradually challenge yourself with longer and more complex speech. To begin, find good English content, such as TED Talks, audiobooks, or podcasts, and start practicing today. Over time, you will notice significant improvements in your ability to speak English with confidence and clarity. Would you like a structured practice guide to get started? If so, check out our step-by-step tutorial on using the imitation technique for English fluency.